and welcome. Thank you for attending our side event at COP24, Students and Youth Researching and Advocating for Climate Action, Equity, and Global Justice. My name is Caitlin Charlton, and I'm a master's student in ecology at Colorado State University. While I'm not able to be here physically at COP24, I am beyond excited to participate in this event virtually and be part of this international community dedicated to taking on climate change. Our event today will be focused around food, water, and communities for a future, and how youth are moving forward with climate initiatives throughout our communities. Our event today is a partnership between Emory University, Colorado State University, Clark University, and the Caribbean Youth Environmental Network. Before we dive into the interviews, we would like to highlight some sustainability and climate initiatives our partner campuses have put into action. Colorado State has a commitment to 100% renewable energy by 2030, composts 5,000 pounds of food from dining halls each week, and has a 93% waste diversion rate from landfills from its dining halls. It is a platinum bike-friendly university and has received numerous awards and is the first university to achieve STARS Platinum. Emory University's 2025 sustainability vision involves diverting 95% of waste from landfills, reducing energy usage by 50% in university buildings, having 75% locally or sustainably grown food, and also has a water hub, a reclamation facility that currently reduces the university's water footprint by 40%. Clark University has goals to be net neutral in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, has university-wide composting, has won awards from the EPA, and is investing in off-campus solar and putting solar on new buildings on campus. As part of our goal to engage our campuses and local communities in COP24, we asked members of our campus communities about their thoughts and personal actions regarding climate change. This is Campus Climate Talks.
Well, climate action means, taking deliberate steps, to mitigate climate change and its effects, like for instance the Paris Accord, and other major intergovernmental decisions. Policy is going to be the basis of climate action, in my opinion.
My first thought is things that you can do on a day-to-day basis, small habits and lifestyle choices like biking, taking public transportation, thinking about the waste you produce, and then of course policy is a really big part of it.
To do something for the environment, to improve the environment, and to prevent any harm impact that will affect the creations, the plants, the animals, the human beings.
To me it means being proactive about assessing what we're doing to the environment and our impacts.
It just means acknowledging the issues that are going on with our climate and actually making an effort to change it however you can.
To me, climate action means not waiting for a solution to come to you, but to be working on the front lines creating the solution yourself.
Responsible use of resources on an individual and a societal scale.
It's like making sure to do the small things every day that will hopefully add up to making a pretty big difference. And it's can be really little stuff, like making sure to recycle the right things and turning the water off when you're brushing your teeth. I think for me that makes a big difference.
Taking steps to be part of the solution for climate change.
How weather is going to become more extreme in regions around the world. Personally, I was very close to the California wildfires, and I think those are going to become more frequent, which is really scary to think about.
Yeah, I think just as we reach that 1.5 degrees Celsius threshold, I think I'm a little worried about the weather patterns and how that's going to affect our agriculture.
See, this is challenging because I know that I'm not 100% educated, and very few people are, and that's the problem. I think that's the biggest issue, is just awareness, and that's not in our face. We don't notice it here, even though it's going on most of the rest of the world. So I think the biggest issue is just lack of awareness.
Uncertainty. is the most pressing climate-related issue. There's a lot of bad things coming that we know about, and the bad things we know about are really, really significant and really worrying. However, if we know about them, we can plan for them, we can invest, we can work on a lot of things. Humans are ingenious creatures that can do amazing things. But there are things happening where we don't know about, that we don't know how it's going to end. We don't know when changes will manifest, we don't know when the system might change states. Not knowing those things mean we can't plan. That's the thing that I worry about the most.
For me, I think it's the meat and dairy industry. I just think that's a huge problem.
I think when animals are in danger, especially, that's really scary. And when air quality gets bad and people get sick.
I think it's just general visibility of the issue. I think not many people are aware that it's actually as pressing of an issue as it really is. The change is not happening nearly quickly enough, and there's a lot of people pushing back against initiatives for progress.
I think fossil fuel emissions for sure is the most pressing one.
The loss of genetic diversity from the loss of species and other animals.
Political solutions to it, because I think the science has shown that this is real, but we have this disconnect between policy and science, and I think we need to find a way to convince those that are the arms of affairs, those in authority, to tell them that this is real. And because we have this report that came out on Black Friday, and that shows that this is real. Like 10% of the American economy will be gone in a couple of years by the reason of climate change. So we need policymakers to wake up and do something about it.
I would say 10 because as you can see that it takes a lot of investment for a food to grow and come to your kitchen, like all the transportation, all the manure, all the labor. You invest a lot of amount of money in actually producing it, and when you actually waste it without using it, that's basically you're wasting all your efforts and all your money. So I think it's very important.
Oh, just the meat industry and all that's huge. I know that, just methane emissions and whatnot, and just the agriculture that goes into producing that much beef and chicken and all that.
8. Yeah, I'm also vegetarian for environmental reasons. That's another thing I do every day. For the last 2 years I've been vegetarian because of the impact of meat, so yeah.
1 to 10, I think it's probably around a 7. The amount of land that we use to try and feed the population as it is not as efficient as it could be, and that basically translates directly into more CO2 emissions and more methane emissions even, with just the amount of land area that you need to take care of cattle like cows versus you need way less to do more chickens essentially. So just considering and taking into consideration how we use our land, because it definitely does have an impact.
I think it's 10. The food that we eat is heavily dependent on the land that we have to grow it, and for the amount of land that we're cutting down for the food that we eat, that's such a big impact.
I think I'm gonna put it at 9. 9 over 10 for me, because as I said, I'm from Nigeria, and we feel the effects of climate change the most, because for the past couple of years we've been having huge torrential rainfall, particularly during the summer, and this has really ravaged a lot of farms in Nigeria, and that has also led to food shortages, and so it's a big issue for us, and for a lot of developing countries that rely on subsistence farming, for instance. And when you don't have so much of an high input agriculture, any little change in any little environmental factor that affects that could be devastating.
I think that's up there. That's probably 9 or 10 for sure. They use a ton of resources, and there's definitely more efficient ways that the populations can be eating.
I try to fix things when they're broken instead of buying something new. I don't eat too much meat, and I also compost.
At home, my family, we have a huge garden, and we compost everything that we eat. And I ride my bike to school when the weather's nice, things like that.
Big fan of
public transportation.
Yeah.
I try to eat. I eat mostly vegetarian. I ride my bike. I hang my clothes outside. You know, kind of the stereotypical household things. Try to fly less.
I work on various policies, and I try to discuss issues with people to sort of help move generally the world in the right direction.
I went vegan like over a year ago because I just realized how much I was impacting, and I was just like, I can make a change.
I think my career has turned into a whole life worried about climate action in a lot of ways. There's a lot of little things though. It sounds really dumb, but I'm the person in my household who goes around and turns off like all the lights in the house and everything when I'm leaving every day, and it's really stupid in some ways because my impact on a global scale is so tiny, but at the same time, it sort of matters a lot. I worry about food waste and things like that at a really small scale. But then I also am doing things like I'm part of the IPCC. I'm one of the lead authors for the upcoming AR6, and part of the job I think that I do in terms of action is making sure the world is informed about what's coming and what options we have to address it. And then I work with development agencies on things that we might do in the world to address these kinds of challenges in concrete ways.
I think about sustainability in a lot, if not most of the things that I do, whether it's that I carry around like a reusable cloth napkin and like always have utensils in my bag. And when I lived off campus in an apartment, I would try to shop bulk at like the Fort Collins Food Co-op. I've transferred like all of my cosmetics and hygiene products over to zero waste options that are either homemade or from like a company that doesn't use packaging or something like that. So many little things. I'm always like, could I be doing this in a more sustainable way?
It's almost impossible to not be aware of your carbon footprint in a College of Natural Resources here. So I do things like ride my bicycle all the time. Most of the clothes I'm wearing are from a thrift shop. I minimize my consumption of meat.
I'm taking courses on climate change and adaptation. I'm taking courses on renewable energy. So I want to make sure that I would like to do a lot of research in terms of renewable energy and maybe make a contribution to it.
The usual things. I try not to have always my lights on, have the water running, use as little plastic as possible, don't throw away food, those kind of things.
Big one that I did was reducing my meat consumption, like not eating meat during the week.
I'd be open-minded to learning what I could do. I know there are some companies and nonprofits where you can help buy carbon credits, so that becomes less profitable for bigger companies to do that. And in turn, you kind of have a zero carbon footprint because you helped take carbon away somewhere else, so I'd do that.
It would be good if I could learn to be a vegetarian. That would be a good one.
If I could reach that point where there was like, I personally made no waste, I would feel super accomplished.
I would like to start composting. I would like to have the money to buy more from sustainable sources like clothing, more organic food, all those kind of things.
I want to get involved with City Hall and learn more about where the waste in this city of Worcester, where it goes. I want to learn about where our recycling goes and how it's recycled and what happens to the product after it's done. Because at this point in my life, I just throw away garbage and that's that, and I don't know what happens to it. So I'd like to educate myself and maybe bring in some of my friends as well.
To have it be part of my career for sure. Really enjoy the people interactions, and something that I really love doing is like finding a connection with someone who doesn't think that they have a part in sustainability or that it doesn't matter to them, and like having a conversation that kind of alters that mindset. So I would love to do like nonprofit work or just something that works with sustainability and people.
Going completely zero waste.
I live in a house that's like way too large for somebody like me and my lifestyle, and so I think downsizing my lifestyle and my carbon footprint, given economic opportunities in the future.
I guess the one that was at the top of my mind was like reproductive habits. I'm planning on adopting if I ever do have kids. I really do want to be more vocal and just advertise the fact that climate change is an issue worth talking about.